Hello and welcome guys to this very special occasion this evening here in Zurich, to the very first live stream of the Underwater you see I'm very nervous, of the Underwater Filmmaking School here on my channel. It's very cool to have you all here and see you joining me on this first live stream that we're going to use as our channel update for the month of February. We'll talk about what is happening at the Underwater Filmmaking School right now. We'll talk about what our plans are for the near future, and we're obviously gonna go into some interaction with you guys as well, and do some Q&As that have been questions that have been asked on previous videos that were published on the channel. And obviously we'll have a section where you can ask some questions through or as we are going through this hour that we have together here as well. For me, it's very important. I want to keep this as interactive as possible. So you've got the chat function. If there's any questions throughout the entire session that we do today, please feel free to put them right in there. I'm not alone today. I wouldn't be able to do that all by myself. I've got my trusted buddy Sebastian behind the camera, operating everything, making sure that everything runs smoothly and that we can have a nice live stream experience here today. Thank you very much, Sebastian, for being here this evening with us. Excellent. So who is in the stream already? I have seen Brian Davis from Brian Davis Scuba. Hi Brian, how are you doing? He is a dear friend of mine living in Dubai, and we've never met in real life really, due to the whole COVID crisis that has been with us for the past year or so. But we've been in a very constant contact over the past several months really, maybe half a year or something like that. And we've had a lot of topics to discuss, in particular about the Paralens Vaquita that I have really tried to get my hands on, but simply wasn't able to do so. And he actually has a model of the Vaquita, has done a lot of testing on it as well. So if you guys are actually looking for information, first-hand information, real-life information about the Vaquita, I would strongly recommend you go over and check out Brian's channel. He's got quite a few videos with all different tests that he's done on the Vaquita over there. Cool. Glad you're doing well, Brian. Fantastic. Right. Let's dive right into the very first topic, and let's talk about what's happening here on the channel. Unfortunately, well, maybe unfortunately, not really, but I have been very, very busy with my regular work, with my little film production company that I run here in Zurich. So I wasn't really able to do a lot of work when it comes to the creation of the new online underwater videography course that I announced in the previous channel update in January. It's still on the table. I still want to do it. It's still going to happen, but I really just haven't had the time to actually sit down and create the course, because it's going to be a rather extensive course, and I want to make something that can be kind of a modular system where there's like a base module that talks about all the basic stuff that you need to know about underwater videography and underwater filmmaking, and then there's going to be different extra modules that will then take you into different parts of the entire underwater filmmaking process. Now, there's also a question here for you guys. What would be specific topics that you would be very interested in when it comes to an online underwater videography course? Is there something that would be very beneficial for you, that would be very useful for you, that you would appreciate having? I've heard from some people that they want to have like a walkthrough through the settings of different cameras and what kind of settings are best for various cameras when we take them underwater. So I'm definitely planning on doing that. Certainly with the GH5 series, but I'm also thinking about the TG6 and a couple of other cameras that I would actually like to make these setting walkthroughs to give you the best possible starting point when it comes to choosing the right settings when you film underwater. The vaquita is coming to me in April, Brian says. Thank you very much, Brian. This is something that I on purpose haven't mentioned yet here on the channel, but Brian was so kind to actually offer to send me his personal vaquita over here to Switzerland so that I can test it out here in the Lake of Zurich and in our surrounding lakes, really. So I can get some first-hand experience myself and see what I can create with this tool, with this new camera. I'm very excited about that, and I really appreciate the gesture, Brian, to send me the vaquita over here. And we're in kind of or we've got kind of an idea that I might even deliver the vaquita personally back to Brian to Dubai sometime in like early summer, and also spend some time with him in Dubai and dive some of the regional spots there with him. It's been quite some time that I've dived the Musandam area. That was back in 2013, I think, or 12, and I still remember it as being some of the better places for me to dive. I really enjoyed the variety of the marine life that was there, even though I remember also not really enjoying the thermal climbs that you guys have over there, being very, very warm on top and then just dropping down to fairly cold water as you just drop below a certain depth range. But yeah, thank you very much, Brian. I can't wait to make this happen. Yeah, we'll be in touch about this, and we'll see how we can make this work for both of us. And I'm sure it's going to be a blast diving with you in the Dubai area. Can't wait for that. Right, so the online underwater videographer course, as I said, it's in the planning, in production kind of, but it's still gonna take a few more months, I would say, until I've actually got a full course out and I can start giving you guys the access to it. Hopefully this will happen kind of by summer this year. That's what I'm sort of my time frame that I'm planning for this course. Another thing that I've mentioned in the previous channel update was the LUTs. I'm planning on creating LUTs for you guys that you can use on your underwater footage. And basically, if you don't know, a LUT is basically like a preset that you can just slap onto your underwater images, onto your underwater footage, and it's gonna change certain parameters of your image to make them look a certain way. And they can be very handy if you just want to do a quick color correction, or if you want to apply a specific look throughout all of your footage. So I'm planning on doing some test LUTs for the GH5s, some that will be based on recordings in the ocean, blue water, and some that will be based on recordings here in our lakes, more kind of greenish water. And I'm hoping to get them finished kind of by next week or the week after, and as soon as that's done, I'll make a separate video about them. I'll explain how it works, how you can apply them, and also supply them to you so you can download those LUTs and play around with it. And I'd really appreciate if you do have a GH5, if you do that, play around with them, see if they work for you, and I would highly appreciate your feedbacks there as well too. Well, see if they work for you or if we need to tweak them in any way to make them actually usable also for other people that are using the GH5s. Now, GH5 is just the first one. There's going to be other cameras that will follow along that road as well, but obviously to be able to do that, I need to get some footage of that specific camera first, and then I can create a LUT for that. So if you have any other camera than a GH5 and you would like a LUT created for that camera, feel free to just drop me an email and a, I don't know, WeTransfer link, or put it on Dropbox and send me an email with the footage, and I'll have a look at the footage and see if I can use that to actually create a LUT for the camera that the footage was recorded with. Brian says there's a Musandam video on his channel. Okay, Brian, I'll definitely have to check that out. I haven't seen that yet, but it's definitely going to bring up some good old memories from the time diving in Musandam. Thank you for mentioning that. Right, another thing, or a couple of things that will happen, we've mentioned the vaquita the Vaquita testing that will, thanks to Brian, hopefully happen very soon here in the Lake of Zurich. And there's a couple of other things that I will test as well. I've reached out to Backscatter because I've seen their own underwater video light. They call it the macro wide underwater video light. I think it's 4,300 lumen of brightness that is incorporated in that light, and I found it quite interesting just from reading about that light and getting some information. It sounded like a very interesting piece of equipment, so I reached out to them and asked them if they can send me a set of these lights so I can test them out, and they agreed to do that. And now we're basically just figuring out when would be the best time for them to send it to me, whether I'll be testing those lights here in the Lake of Zurich, or I might be, as we just said, I might be going to Dubai fairly soon. So hopefully I'll be able to get them for that trip and take it to Dubai and test it all out there in some more comfortable water, I would say. Right. Hello, John. Good to see you here as well. Yes, I have I haven't really had any luck with my fluoro lights. There's an interesting story behind that. I was actually trying to film with them, but for some reason the light didn't really seem to work properly. So I've been in touch with the manufacturer back and forth a little bit, and we're trying to figure out what the problem is with that light. As soon as that's figured out, I will take it back in the water and I will give it another try. Also, I have to say that even though I do dive throughout the entire year, even here in Switzerland, I would not say that I'm the most active diver in the winter season and in the cold weather. Right now, the water in our lakes is around 5 to 6 degrees Celsius, so it's pretty cold even wearing a dry suit. And in particular, if you're trying to test equipment, most of the time I like to have plenty of time in the water to test out stuff, because you know how it works. Once you get into the water, it's rarely the case that the equipment works right on spot and you don't have to change anything, so you're fumbling around with it a little bit at the beginning. And if then you only have like 30 minutes or so in the water, because after that you get cold, it's kind of difficult to really do a proper equipment test as long as the water is that cold. So yeah, keeping a long story short, I will definitely, as soon as the water gets warmer, I will be back in the water more often, and therefore we'll be able to go ahead with those tests then as well. Yeah, the sea life. I remember you saying that. I'll think about that. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah, definitely. I'll keep that in mind, John. Thank you very much for mentioning that. If the one that I was sent wasn't or isn't going to work, I'll definitely see if I can get hooked up with a Sea Life fluoro light and give it a try there. Excellent. What else is new? Well, as mentioned in like one of the, not the last one, but I think the one before, the one channel update before, I mentioned that I was gonna change or move places. Now, this recording here is at my actual place where I live right now and where I work right now. In a good month time, I will be actually moving closer into the city, or actually into the city of Zurich. Right now I'm living kind of on the outskirts, but I'll be moving into the city, into a larger apartment, and I'll actually also have a dedicated office space in sort of the ground floor of that building block, which is fantastic because I'm planning on actually building out a proper studio, obviously an office as well, but also a studio that I can use for these kind of things like the live streams, like my YouTube videos, client videos obviously as well. So it's all gonna start to look a little more, I wouldn't say professional, but just a little more streamlined. It's gonna look a little more the same on every single video. Because right now I'm kind of having the issue that I have to basically just film wherever I get the chance to film for all my videos. Once I'm in the new office space and the studio, and once it's built out, this will hopefully, or not hopefully, it will change and the videos will all kind of get the same look, and I will have a space that I can actually that I can make into the space that I want it to be. So I'm really excited about that, can't wait, and I'm obviously going to take you along on that ride as well. I'll be probably going to the office, to my future office in 2 weeks time to have a look and see how the work is progressing there. So I'll definitely take my camera with me then as well and just give you a quick tour of the new office so you can see what you can expect in terms of the space that these videos will be produced in the future. Now, one thing that I would like to know is, that I've put here on my notes, is the Across the Oceans series that I've started with James from Divers Ready. Are you guys enjoying this series? Is this something that you're getting value out of from? Because I see that there's a lot of comments on James's side when he puts the videos up on his page. I do get some comments on my page or on my channel as well, but obviously the size, we have to compare it as well, but obviously that nowhere close as many comments as on his channel. So I'm just curious, and I just want to know whether or not you guys are really enjoying this topic or this series, and also what kind of topics we could pick up next. We're kind of going to go into the editing part of the whole video production stuff next, but please do let me know if there is any specific part that interests you, and we'll make sure to pick it up in one of our next episodes there. Excellent. Now I feel like I've been talking for hours, even though it's only probably been like 10 minutes or so. A little more than 10 minutes. Okay, excellent. Is there any questions, guys? Is there anything that you would like to know? We're getting into the Q&A section. I've got a couple of questions that I've picked out from the ones that were asked on the channel in the previous month or so. So we can go through those in a minute, but I want to give you the chance, first of all, to ask any other questions that might be in the room right now. Cool. Okay. Thank you, John, for that answer and that feedback. Would you like it to be more specific and more in-depth on certain topics? Is that what you're asking for, or what you would actually like seeing in this series? Okay, well, this is obviously all a little, with a little latency here, so what we're going to do in the meantime, while we wait for other questions to come in, we'll go through the questions that I've noted here before we started the live stream. And I'm not entirely sure, probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I released a video about the V-Fine adjustable float arms, these ones here. And I got a lot of responses, a lot of reactions on that video here. And maybe we can have the top-down camera now from my camera operator and have a quick look at the float arm there. Perfect. Thank you, Sebastian. So the float arms, some of the questions were whether or not you can actually change the buoyancy in terms of adding some more lift to these float arms while you're underwater, and unfortunately that doesn't work, not with this model. And up until recently I was pretty much sure that there's no model out there that can do that, really, because what you need to do if you want to give the whole arm more lift is come up to the surface, and you actually have to unscrew, or a little tight, unscrew this part here, and then all the water that is in here, you can get it out like this, but you obviously got to be on the surface. And I say up until recently, I didn't know about any product that can adjust its buoyancy underwater. One of the comments on that video was actually that this is not a revolution or a revolutionary product, that a company called Huggyfoot from, I believe, Belgium, they have created a very similar system something like 10 years ago, but for some reason I have never heard of it, and no one I have talked to has ever heard of that product, or at least not the people that I have talked to about it. Apparently, from what I've read on their website, their product, you can change the buoyancy in terms of giving it extra lift even while being underwater. So I don't know, I haven't tried it, but that's just what I read on the website. But I would be very interested in actually trying that out and seeing whether or not that works. Now, all right, can you just go back to the top camera, Sebastian, please, one more time? And excellent. And what I just wanted to show you is how you can actually add water into the adjustable float arm and make sure that it flats a little bit and you can adjust your buoyancy is by pushing this little button here. That's a little valve. Once you push that in, and you have to actually push quite a bit into this button in here, a little valve opens and it lets some water into the hollow space here of the float arm, and that's how you adjust your buoyancy. And it works surprisingly well. It does take some time, so don't expect it to be like one press and it's settled and it's done. It really does take some time, but it is absolutely usable, and I really love it. Yeah. Right. Enough with the float arms. Brian has another comment here. I would continue over the oceans for the time being, but focus on how to get the best out of action cams, including the Vaquita, which we could send to James after you. Okay, excellent. So you think it should stay as a format for beginner underwater videographers or people that mainly film with action cams? That's an interesting thought. We can certainly do that. The idea was basically to make this as diverse as possible for any diver that has any interest in underwater filmmaking or photography to get something out of it. But it's an interesting aspect, so I'll definitely pick that up with James and we'll see where we're gonna take this series next. Mr. V commented, if you want to make it buoyant, yes, as I said before, if you do want to make it buoyant, you will have to actually come up to the surface, unscrew this back part, this back part here, and then drain the water out that way before you can take it back up, back underwater. So there's with this model, there's actually no way to be able to add some air and add some buoyancy to it if you've flooded it too much underwater. So it's actually a really good thing that once you push that little valve, it just dribbles in very slowly, and it gives you plenty of time to actually to adjust that buoyancy, and you can make sure that you're not just over flooding the float arm and destroying your buoyancy, the buoyancy of your camera underwater. Oh, look at that, Critter Hunter's here. Nice to see you, Justin. Welcome to my very first live stream. John has another comment. People who follow your channel, I feel, are just more advanced. I'm sure you are helping people who are new to photography, but it definitely caters more to his audience. Okay, cool. I see what you're saying. Probably you're right. It probably is the content that I have on my channel most likely is more advanced in most cases. I'm also trying to cater a little bit for the beginner market as well, the beginners when it comes to underwater videography. And this is also why I've started the Back to Basics series a while ago, in which I try to give very basic facts and information and tips on underwater videography. Because and I agree with you, most of the other tutorials and stuff that I've got on my channel is probably a little more advanced. So yeah, the idea behind that whole cooperation with James was to just broaden up the spectrum of people that would be interested in the content that we create. So that was the idea behind it. But I appreciate your comment. Thank you very much for that. Is it really 1:30 a.m. in Darwin? Critter Hunter really never sleeps. He's either underwater or is in front of his computer. I wonder how he does it. Very, very interesting. Okay. Floats are super useless for macro. I want it heavy and sitting on the stand. Yes, I agree. If you're shooting on a tripod, floats are useless because you want to, as you said, you want to have your rig as heavy as possible so you get stability. But imagine you're filming a pygmy seahorse in a sea fan on a wall, and there's no place for you to put your tripod on or on. So what are you gonna do? How are you gonna get your camera as stable as possible? In these cases, I think that even for macro, these floats can be useful. But I'm not contradicting. I'm saying you're perfectly right. If you have a place to put your tripod in, yeah, definitely go for that. Put your tripod in and make it as steady as possible. But I've also unfortunately seen a lot of people, and I know that you are a very cautious diver, Justin, absolutely. But I've seen a lot of people with tripods being very uncareful where they put their tripods, and I've even seen people putting their tripods on staghorn coral and all that sort of stuff, just to get that stable shot, and I'm obviously not a big fan of that. So if we can avoid that, that is fantastic. All right, okay, yep, I'll do that. Yeah, we basically, what we do in the videos itself, we always ask the viewers to subscribe to both of our channels, but that might be a good idea to ask before the videos come out. Yep. Yeah, Critter Hunter doesn't need sleep. I put on my floats to try black water this week. So you will or you have, Critter Hunter? And if you have already, how did it work? Did you get any good black water footage? This is actually a topic or a category of filming underwater that I have only done maybe once or twice, and I find it incredibly difficult. And I think it's something that you really got to master underwater videography to be able to get some really good black water images and video clips. Good, we are talking about seahorses. Have you filmed them? Yes, I do actually. I did film some seahorses back in, I guess it was back in the Philippines a couple of years back when I was there, and in Raja Ampat as well. That's also, wow, that's also like 5-6 years ago. Time flies. But yes, I have filmed seahorses, and that's why I picked that example, because in like 90% of the times when I filmed seahorses, especially the pygmy seahorses, I was not able to put my camera on a tripod somewhere in a safe place and film them. I always had to film the seahorses basically handheld, and I never really got more than a couple of seconds of stable, steady footage, and even that I had to slow down, so from a 60 frames per second down to a 24 frames per second in the timeline, so that it would actually look decent for me, good enough for me. But back then again, I didn't have these. So maybe with these ones, I'll run a few more tests here in the Lake of Zurich when it comes to macro with these adjustable float arms. And I want to get into the practice of using them more and seeing how they work with the macro side of things as well. Again, Critter Hunter didn't get any seahorses. I do envy Critter Hunter a little bit here sometimes, simply him being able to dive every single day in the tropical waters of the Philippines and capturing all that amazing footage. Like, if you haven't seen his channel, whoever's watching here, guys, if you haven't seen his channel, go over and have a look at especially the footage from the last couple of videos that he's got with his he's a TG6 boy now. He's got a new camera. So yeah, go over there and have a look at the videos that he's captured with his TG6, especially the macro shots that he captured there. They're just outstanding. So yeah. How did you film at 120 frames per second? Critter Hunter, was it? Does the TG6 doesn't film in 120, at least not in 4K, as far as I'm aware. Maybe in full HD. All right. Okay. Do we have any other questions, guys? Anything that interests you? Anything that we can talk about other than the seahorses that Critter Hunter didn't find? Okay, 1080, 120. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. How is the codec? How's the quality of the footage when you film in 120 on the TG6? Is the full HD, does it hold up? Is it still usable in a good way when you bring it into post-production? That's something that I've never tried, the 120 on the TG6, even though I've tried, or I've used it a couple of times, but I've never used that that mode. Yeah, I know that Brian is really getting into the seahorses and the seahorse trust that he's supporting, and this is something that I can highly recommend if you don't know the seahorse trust. Brian has put out a few videos last week or this week, I'm not entirely sure, where he actually talks about what the seahorse trust is, talks about the person who has invented it and runs it now, and how you can actually help. I think that Brian has even come up with some t-shirt designs that he sells, and all the benefits, all the earnings from those t-shirts, they go straight into the Seahorse Trust. So yeah, if you haven't seen a seahorse while diving underwater, make sure to support that trust and help the people to preserve and help our seahorses so we can see many more of them when being underwater. John wants a trip to Lebo. Well, look, John, this is a hot topic. I've been kind of thinking about this and contemplating whether or not I should do something like that for quite a long time. I'm really thinking of organizing or doing sort of like group trips, where I'd be based in a resort in different places around the planet. I was thinking about Bonaire because that's a place that's very easily accessible for all our American friends that come from the US. I was also thinking about Egypt, which is a very good place for all our people that come from Europe. It's a very easy way to get there. And yeah, definitely. I mean, I love Indonesia. Lembeh is probably one of my top dive spots that I would go back to, or I want to go back to. I used to live and work in Bali for a year. I love the Indonesian and Southeast Asian diving, and I would love to be able to actually organize a trip and take as many people as possible on that trip, and just be there, go out, dive, film, and just learn from each other. And I'm more than happy to also do some video workshops during such a trip. But as you say, right now with the travel restrictions still in place, I find it kind of pointless to really plan something, because it's really hard to kind of judge how long this is gonna stay the way it is, and when these travel restrictions will be lifted and how they will be lifted and what other restrictions might come. So for the time being, I've paused this project, because originally I wanted to do something in October this year, but I've paused it, and we're basically just hanging in there and seeing how the situation is going to change, what's going to happen, how it's going to develop, how the situation is going to develop. And I don't think it's going to happen this year, because it also always needs a little bit of preparation, and you do need some time before you can actually run such a trip. But definitely, if everything goes as expected with the whole COVID-19 situation decreasing and getting back to kind of normal, this is something that I'm definitely planning and definitely want to do in the next year, 2022. So hopefully this is something that we could do. Why is John, why is Lembeh your top pick? I would really be interested in learning about that. And also to everyone in the live stream, what other destinations would be a good choice for you? What destinations would you like to go to? That's something that I would like to know, so I can kind of make a list of top priorities of dive destinations that we can kind of see if we can come up with a group trip and some workshops and stuff like that in the future. Yeah, of course. Well, Critter Hunter, you've got it all there. You don't even have to travel anywhere. You can just get all the people come to your house. And I mean, we see it in all your videos. You've got a huge pool, so we can even practice in the pool if we can't go out into the ocean. And so this would actually, I would expect that from you, to organize something in the Philippines and have us come to you and dive and have a good time. I'd be definitely up for that as soon as we can fly back into the Philippines. And please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's still not possible at this time, at least not for us like Europeans, to enter the Philippines because of all these travel restrictions. But yeah, as soon as, hopefully they will be lifted soon, I can't wait to get some tropical warm water diving under my belt again. You know the manager of Froggies, okay? That sounds cool. Excellent, John. We'll keep that in mind. Fantastic. I haven't been to Froggies. Last time I was in Lembe, I was with the Lembe Resort, but that doesn't really bother me. I'm open to a different resort, absolutely. So we'll keep that in mind. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can see why you've never been disappointed, John. Yeah. Lembe really never disappoints, and you just really never know what you'll find when you get in the water there. Ambon. Okay, well, there you go. But this is you, Critter Hunter. You've got such a specific list on things that you want to see. Most people are just happy when they're in the water and they can see like anything, really. I mean, I haven't been, okay, this is probably, I don't want to complain, but I haven't been to any warm water destination in a year and a half. Like the last time I was diving in warm water was back in Australia in like October or November of 2019. And ever since, I've only been diving in green cold water here in the Lake of Zurich. But anyways, Ambon, yeah, definitely a nice option. I would go for any warm water destination right now, to be honest with you guys. Nebraska. Okay. Do you, John, dive in Nebraska? Well, first, can you dive? And second, do you dive? And what's the diving like? Yeah. Wow, that sounds interesting. With landlocked nurse sharks in Utah. This is something that you're planning, John, right? Very cool. Yeah, yeah, I thought so. Justin, thanks for confirming that I'm not welcome in the Philippines right now. Hopefully this will change soon. All right. Well, I don't really have any other notes here, so we can just keep on chatting a little bit. Oh, wow, okay. John, this is cold, right? So this is like dry suit, I would imagine. No, Justin, Brian is the one diving in the aquariums. That's not John. Brian did that, but I know, I'm sure that you know that. Yeah, dry suits. Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of sick of my dry suit. I want to be able to dive in a wetsuit again, you know, but preferably even just, you know, like one of those rash guards, the shark skins or something, and board shorts, just easy diving. I'd really like that. Hopefully we'll be able to do that soon again. Right, okay. What is just to kind of bring the discussion back on the table, what is something that you guys, a topic that you guys would be interested in, that I'm kind of looking for? Not that I'm running out of ideas, I've got plenty of ideas for new videos that I will produce, but still I'm also trying to be, to stay on the track of what you guys would like to see. I know that I've done a few pieces and a few videos on the post-production process when it comes to the whole production, film production. So my question here is, would you enjoy seeing more post-production videos? Would you like to be more on the actual equipment side, the stuff that we use to film underwater, or maybe even like tutorials again a little more? Or I've actually started going through old hard drives that I've got from like years back when I started filming from different diving destinations, and I'm actually thinking about just using the footage on those old hard drives and creating short movies, short films with all that footage. Is that maybe something that would be interesting for you? Yeah, don't complain, Justin. 27 degrees. Honestly, I don't know when I was in water 27 degrees for the last time. Not even my shower supplies me 27 degrees. Okay. Okay, post-production, yep. And lighting for Brian. Post-production for John, lighting for Brian. Okay. John, quick question. Post-production, what editing program do you use? Because maybe I can try to do a few tutorials in different editing programs, because I personally, or most of the time, I use Final Cut Pro, but I've also started using DaVinci Resolve recently a little bit, so we can definitely just broaden that whole thing and go into different editing softwares as well. Okay, Critter Hunter, have you, but you do have a snoot, right? Are you trying to figure out how to attach it to your underwater rig? Is that what you're asking, Justin? Because I'm not really understanding your question or comment. But I'm sure we can teach you very simply how to attach a snoot to your underwater camera rig. Okay, perfect, John. I'll see if I can do something in the Adobe line. I've got actually something really cool coming up. I've got a video idea about this has just came up because you said the Adobe lineup in Adobe Audition, because one of the things that like a long time ago has always troubled me is when I was producing or making a film and I wanted a music track to last for a specific duration of time. And I've had the problem that when I had my clips and I had the music track, and if it didn't match to the length of the clips, or the entire clip section, then I had to kind of cut the clip, extend it, try to match it manually so you wouldn't hear that it was actually clipped and looped. And this took a very long time, and it sometimes just wasn't very effective, and you could still hear it sometimes. So I found a way of how you can actually do this in Adobe Audition, where it's with the press of a button. Audition will automatically make whatever audio track you put into Audition, it will make it to whatever length you want, plus minus 5 seconds, but very, very accurate, and you can use it then on your videos. So this is a video that I'll prepare for you guys soon, and I'll bring it up on the channel in the next couple of weeks, because this is something that has saved me a ton of time and a lot of gray hairs not being there yet by being able to do it in a different way. Oh, you don't have a snoot, okay. I only do night dives, and the snoot would be cool right now doing high and black. Yeah, okay. Yeah, definitely you can do that too, but the snoot's just going to be much easier to channel, well, to channel the light and not have that light spill into the rest of your scene. And you can stay with your normal shutter speed really. So the motion blur stays kind of the same and the desired one. iMovie. Yeah, thank you, Brian. That's a good idea. iMovie, maybe going into iMovie a little more in depth with the across the ocean crowd there. Okay, now here we go. Do it yourself. Now Critter Hunter's gonna make his own snoot. If you do so, please, Justin, please, can you record how you make that snoot and post it on your channel? I would love to see what you come up with. And don't get me wrong, I fully trust in you that you can make this snoot. I just really want to see how you make it and what the result is. Maybe you can even come up with a product that you can sell to other people there. So it's another revenue there for you. But please, that would be really cool. Good idea, John. Making your own snoot. Sure, you can do whatever you want. Yeah, you can tape an oil funnel. You can tape anything really to your light that will funnel and focus that light onto the spot that you want. But what happens with the more advanced or the modern snoots is that they've got a module built into them that works like that actually makes the light go into the center and just be stronger. So it's focusing that light actually rather than just limiting the light going outwards of the light source. But yeah, well, why not? I mean, you're there, you've got all that time, you've got perfect dive sites just in front of your doorstep. Go out every night and try and see what works best. That's at least, I think, how I would do it. Oh, hi, Juhani. Nice to see you here as well. Fantastic. How has Corona affected me? Well, to be quite honest, it has affected me in the way that I just wasn't or am still not able to travel. And before the whole COVID-19 thing started, I was probably on the road about 3 months out of the year in different locations, whether it be on paid work assignments, whether it be on pleasure assignments that I did for myself, vacations. So the last 12 months have been very different to me because I wasn't able to go anywhere just for the diving, and I spent all of my vacation and my spare time here in Switzerland, which wasn't bad. Don't get me wrong, I really enjoyed this last year and I had a blast being up in the mountains, and like I learned to ski last winter, which I know it might sound funny to you that a Swiss person doesn't know how to ski, but for me it was something new and I just learned it last winter. So it wasn't all bad, but it certainly shifted a lot of my focus because I wasn't able to go to these locations, capture what I would have loved to capture. So I've started diving more here in Switzerland again, which before that I still did dive here, but not very often. And now, since I'm kind of stuck here in Switzerland, I've taken up diving here a lot more again, and I don't know, probably done something like somewhere between 30 and 40 dives, I would say, within the last 9 months or so here in Switzerland. So quite a lot for me when we talk about diving in Switzerland. But also because I didn't want to wait to test gear. I wanted to be able to test it here as well. So that was the reason. And I haven't really done a lot of fun diving, to be honest, here in Switzerland. It's been mainly testing gear and trying out new things. Other than that, COVID-19 hasn't really affected me too much. I mean, yeah, from the personal side, as I said, I wasn't able to dive in tropical locations or anywhere else than Switzerland. But that was okay because with with my regular work that I do, my film production company, I have actually got a lot of work over the past 9 months, just simply because there's a lot of companies here in Switzerland that have realized that they need to go more into the digital world. They need more digital content, and that's where I was able to step in as a producer and actually supply the content that they were looking for. So I was very busy work-wise, still am. This was kind of a good thing because it made it less painful that I wasn't able to travel and dive in like tropical and exotic destinations as I would have liked to do. Hope this answers your question there, Johanni. If I can imagine Critter Hunter making anything, yeah, I can. Yeah, I think he's a handyman. Yeah, maybe you wouldn't give it to him, but I think that he is a bit of a handyman. Besides excellent videos, of course. Well, you just need to adapt it to Orca Torch. That shouldn't really be too difficult. And just tape. Tape is the question or the answer to anything. Just use plenty of tape. Or super glue. If you want to glue it permanently to your lights, just use super glue. That should work as well. Ciao Andrea, nice to see you here. How are you doing? Man, Andrea, I do think that the A7S III is a heck of a camera for filming underwater. Absolutely. Particularly because of its light sensitivity. Can it be fine for small underwater documentary? Absolutely. I mean, the good thing about it is, and some of you might remember about half a year ago or so, a little more than that, I got myself a Canon C200, which I was actually planning on getting a housing for it as well, so I could take it underwater. Up until today, I haven't had it in the water yet. It's basically my A camera for my client productions, but I haven't really had it underwater. And the reason being, first of all, there's only one company that makes a housing for it, Nauticam. The housing is fairly expensive and it's really difficult to get that housing to Switzerland at this stage. So my hands are a bit tight at the moment, and I think in the end it's not a bad thing that I haven't gotten the housing for the camera, because when we talk about traveling, I think it's just too big of a rig to be able to be taken overseas and on like airplane trips. So for that reason alone, I think that the A7S III is a really, really interesting camera because of the form factor, the size, and when you talk about documentary filmmaking underwater, it's, I assume, most of the time going to happen somewhere overseas. So you'll be traveling, you'll be in airplanes, you'll have weight restrictions, all that sort of stuff. So having a smaller rig that you carry with you is definitely a benefit, in my opinion, there. And also, I mean, we don't really have to discuss the image quality of the A7S III. I've seen some videos. I'm sure you've watched some videos, some comparison, some test footage videos. The quality is outstanding. Being able to record 120 in 4K is awesome. The 10-bit codec or the 10-bit rate is amazing to have that in there. So yeah, all in all, a really, really good camera. I think that using that as an underwater or as a documentary filmmaker, even filming underwater, can be a very, very good decision. Yeah, absolutely. So I'm assuming that you're thinking about getting the A7S III. May I ask what you're filming with right now to see what would be your step up to that next camera, or from what you're coming from? Okay, I see John, Critter Hunter and Brian, they're very engaged in their discussion about how to make a custom snoot for Justin's Orca Torch light. Justin, have you asked Orca Torch? Don't they make snoots? Aren't you, like, haven't you done some reviews and stuff for Orca Torch? I mean, you certainly have a contact there. If not, I can give you a contact to Orca Torch that I have. I know that yeah, I'm pretty sure they make a snoot. Why don't you ask them if they can send you a snoot over and you review it? They're actually, Orchid is most of the time very easy and accommodating with these kind of things. So if you want that, let me know and I'll send you the contact that I've got at Orchid and maybe they can help you out so you don't have to spend the next couple of weeks in your basement trying to make that snoot for your light. Right. Yeah, I agree. It's not cheap, the A7S III. But then again, what camera is cheap when it comes to filming underwater, especially if you do want to get a decent housing for it as well, lights, all that sort of stuff. But again, I guess it's sort of the compromise from what you're filming with now and how much easier is the new rig going to make your life, or what is it going to make you capable of. If the new camera is going to make your life easier, or you'll be able to do something that you weren't able to do with your existing rig, then in my opinion it justifies the upgrade and spending the money, obviously, if you have it. Otherwise, if it's just because you want that camera, you can get it if you want it, but if it's not really doing something specific for you or helping you in achieving what you're trying to do, then I think that it doesn't really make too much sense to upgrade. Right. Yes, Brian, we do have another Critter Hunter challenge that is actually still here. Okay, I will do some more content on diving in the Swiss lakes, definitely. There's actually, okay, I wasn't gonna announce this, but there is toads, frogs, toads that that will lay their eggs in a specific part of a lake here in Switzerland. And this is normally happening somewhere between April and May. And it's kind of a guessing game because you never know when it's happening. So you have to be visiting that dive site very regularly to be just ready when it happens. And you can, if you're really lucky, you can actually see the tiny little frogs hatch. So that's something interesting, and that's something that with Sebastian together we have actually talked about to try to capture that on video this year. Hopefully that'll be possible. I can't guarantee because, as I said, it's not a specific date it's going to happen, but we'll have to be able to go there a couple of times and see how they progress. Hopefully we can supply you with some very cool footage that we can capture there. Yeah, but I was talking about the critter challenge, and Justin did challenge me to finding a pike. And this has actually been quite a while ago already. And I'm very sorry that I have to admit that ever since that challenge happened, I have not seen a pike on my dives here. And before that, I saw them quite regularly. But I guess it's something like when I challenged Justin to the, was it the Ornate? No, it was the robust ghost pipefish. When I challenged you to that, and it took you quite a while because suddenly there weren't any around. It seems like the same thing has happened here in the Lake of Zurich or in Switzerland, where all the pikes, they know that I'm looking for them to complete that challenge, so they're hiding between the seagrass. And I haven't been able to find any, but the challenge is still ongoing, and I will, as soon as I find that pike, I will let you guys know, and then the challenge will come from my side again and will be passed on. That's not true. I really appreciate that, Critter Hunter, but it's not true that only I can make the Swiss water look good. I think that, yeah, of course, Sebastian can also make the Swiss water look very good. I absolutely agree on that. Now, I think that, like, these non-tropical waters, I think they're underestimated. I think that you can get some really good footage. You can get some really nice stuff in these places, whether it be Switzerland or any other place that has not tropical water but cold water. But it's just different stuff that you're looking for in these places. It might not be the color of the fish and the marine life and the corals and all that sort of stuff that you see like in the tropics and in the ocean. But it might be boulder formations, rock formations, swim-throughs, little caves, all that sort of stuff that can be very, very interesting. I personally, ever since I've started diving more here in Switzerland again, I have actually come to like the greenish look of these videos. I never really liked that before, and since I've started diving again in Switzerland, I kind of started to like this look. Yeah, so I think that they're underestimated, these dive sites, places, and I think that there's plenty to see and also plenty to capture. And also plenty of macro stuff. So Critter Hunter, if you're feeling like a tough boy wanting to dive in cold water, you're always welcome here to join us on one of the dives, and you can show off your TG6 macro skills in the Lake of Zurich with us. Where are we? Weight restrictions. Yeah, John says weight restrictions are the weakness of the photographers. I agree. Difficult, and I don't think it's going to be easier in the future. I actually do think that airfares will increase, and also that luggage will be more expensive. So having a smaller rig is definitely advisable just for travel reasons. Bean Eater, hello, nice to have you here. Orca sponsors you. Well, there you go. Yes, they make snoots. Yeah, well, how about talking to your sponsors? Yeah, they do make snoots. Check out their website. They've got a snoot system on their website. Ask them. I'm sure they'll be able to fix you up with a snoot, and you don't have to make one yourself. Okay, Critter Hunter was filming, yeah, I remember that. Critter Hunter was filming clownfish, Nemo eggs, and they hatched when you left. Okay, did you get any footage of them hatching or none at all? Okay. Yohani says he recently started making YouTube videos. There is not so many people doing videos from underwater stuff for YouTube. Would it be possible make a video making YouTube videos about underwater? Okay, so a tutorial video for making YouTube videos, underwater YouTube videos, right? If I got this, I think I got this right. So you would like a tutorial video on how to make underwater YouTube videos. Okay, cool. Yeah, I can definitely do that. I'll put that on the list. Is there any specific part of the process that you're looking to get some information, or just the entire, like from A to Z, like from the planning all the way to execution, post-production? I'm not really going to go into how to upload videos on YouTube and all that sort of stuff, because that's the same for every video and there's plenty of tutorials out there already. But I can definitely go into like how I approach my videos and how I approach the process of making these videos, in terms of what my thoughts are when I come up with a new topic, how I plan it. Most of the time, most of the time I have a shot list and like a little storyboard as well, so I can go through that process with you guys, show you how I do that. If that's of any interest to you, I'm more than happy to share that process that I go through with you. Right. An underwater housing, I shoot for a period with an icon. Okay, well, in that case, Andrea, if you don't have a housing at the moment, that might be a very good reason to actually upgrade or actually get the A7 S3, well, definitely a good choice if that's what you're asking, if that's the camera that you should get for documenting or filming documentaries underwater. Yes, I think that is a very good choice at the moment. Burhan has also entered the stream. Hello, my friend. How are you? Excellent. Thank you, Critter Hunter, for sharing the stream. I really appreciate that. Madagascar. That's actually really cool. And thinking about a crowdfunding for a small doc about a sea turtle project that probably is going to start soon. So I'm thinking about that. Excellent. Yeah. Wow. Very cool. How is Madagascar? Excellent. Very, very cool. Yeah. I think that would be a really good choice of camera for such a project. Question is, how you gonna, I'm just really just coming out of my head this question, how you gonna get the housing to Madagascar? If they, I don't know if they ship over there, but this might also just be me not knowing how this works. But if you can do that, yeah, why not? Sure. You Filipinos, you eat everything that comes out of the ocean, don't you? I don't like that very much. Trips and dives. Benjamin Kruger has a question about lights. Would you prefer 2 times 5,000 lumen or 1 or 2 10,000 lumen lights for a GoPro? Aren't 10,000 lumen too big compared to size and weight of a GoPro? Very good question. Thank you for that question, Benjamin. Probably yes. Probably it is too big for the size of the GoPro. But we have to keep a few things in mind here. Why do we need light? Because obviously there's less light underwater than we have on the surface. Water absorbs light, so we need to just be able to get as much light into our scenes as possible. So I've always been a strong believer that the more light you can bring with you underwater reasonably, yeah, the better. But I also think that it doesn't make sense if you're filming with a small action cam to bring 4 sets of 18,000 lumen Kelvin lights with you on the dive, for example, to go like way overboard. Because the whole purpose of an action camera, other than being reasonably cheap and easy to use, is that it's small and that you can place it in places where you might not be able to place a larger camera, right? And if you now put a huge rig, a huge set of lights on it, it kind of defeats that purpose of the really small rig. Because also I know many people who are perfectly happy of having their GoPros, Osmo Actions, whatever you call it, paralenses, and they just clip it to their harness, they have it with them throughout the dive, and if they see something interesting, they just unclip it, they press the record button and just take a little clip, and they're perfectly happy with that. I mean, you can definitely rig your GoPro up, you can definitely put all those lights on there, but does it really make much sense? I doubt that. I don't think that it does make a lot of sense. And personally speaking, to your first question with the 2 times 5 or 1 times 10, I would most of the time go with 2 times. So have 2 lights. With GoPros, they tend to have also, or any action camera, they tend to have a rather wide field of view. So having only 1 light, you run the risk that you'll have the center of your image illuminated nicely, correctly, but then towards the edges of your image, the light will just fade away, and it's not really going to look very, very pleasing. I don't want to use the word professional because you might not be looking for a professional look, but it's not going to look very pleasing. Having 2 lights on the other side, you can make sure that they come at a 45-degree angle from each side, and they will illuminate your image in a much nicer, more even way, and you get a much more pleasing image that way. So hopefully that answers your question. I personally would always go with 2 lights rather than with 1. And with the GoPro setup, I think that 2 times 5,000 lumen should be enough for a GoPro. I don't think that you should really go any more than that, unless you've got the money, you've got the possibility, and you can do it. Then, I mean, by all means, nothing's forbidden, and as long as you can still handle it underwater, it's all good. That's right. What else have we got here? Any other questions? Mostly about subjects, what you have done, and feedback, what you have got. Mostly about subjects, what you have done, and okay. So you wanna hear about projects. Okay, yep, I can definitely do that. Yeah. What we can also do, this is like, I'd really happily offer this, guys. If you have any films, any underwater films that you've created yourself, and you want to get some feedback on these films, you're more than happy to send them to me. Like if you've got them somewhere on the net, send me the link, or if you don't have it on the internet but you just want to send me the clip before you publish it somewhere, I'm more than happy to have a look at those films. So whenever you want, send me those links. I'll be more than happy to take the time and have a look at your films, and also give you feedback on them. Absolutely. And you can decide whether you want that feedback privately, or whether we can do that feedback as part of like a live stream, for example, or a video where I can give you feedback on the film that you've done. So if that's something that you're interested in, also absolutely you can do that. I'm more than happy to share my knowledge with you guys there. Yes, thank you. All is well in Zurich. As you can see, it's getting darker and darker outside. We are running into night time already. Okay, here's another question from Critter Hunter. I want to know the system you're on now. Is it 2 laptops and StreamYard? Okay, I will actually transfer this question right on to Sebastian, who's actually behind the whole system. And can you, Sebastian, just put it in the comment section, please, what we are exactly on, because we've built quite a bit of a setup in the studio here today. We'll also post some pictures. We've taken some pictures beforehand. We'll also post some pictures afterwards into like the like here on the channel itself, so you guys can see how what it looked like. But yeah, it's a bit more complicated than I can explain in simple words, because that's all Sebastian's work, making sure that everything works and you guys can see me and we can talk and all that sort of stuff. Right, John has another suggestion here. Maybe you could do a video on how to pick a balanced rig camera, housing, lighting and accessories at different level of budget. Very cool. Yep, I like that. So different levels of budget, and well, we'll probably have to do this in several videos, because we can talk about different level of budgets to create your rig, but then to balance your rig, we'll actually have to take each of the rigs into the water, and we'll have to fine-tune the rig and work with tools like, for example, the adjustable float arms, with non-adjustable float arms, with weights, with all that sort of stuff, to make sure that we can get a system that is neutrally buoyant. But yeah, we can definitely have a look into that. Right. Yes, we'll do that, John. Thank you very much. Okay, I see. Excellent. So Sebastian has answered the question. I hope, Justin, that's sufficient for you. 2 TH5s, Atom Mini. Yep. Right. If not, feel free to re-ask the question, and Sebastian is going to be more than happy to go into a little bit more detail for you there. Yeah, Madagascar really sounds nice. Water is not clear like Egypt. And it's, yeah, I guess you've got a lot of plankton there, because isn't Madagascar also known for... Do you guys have whale sharks over there? I think so, right? So there must be plankton-rich waters. Turtle reserve full of green turtles. How did you, Andrea? How did you end up in Madagascar? Like, what got you over there, and what are you exactly doing over there right now? Are you working for the turtle reserve, or are you connected? Are you doing any kind of work for the diving industry over there? That would be interesting to hear. Like the Musandamban steroids. Yeah, maybe. John has a question. Can you talk about pros and cons of Micro Four Thirds versus APS-C versus full frame? Might be worth doing a video. Good question. Thank you, John. I like that. Very good question. Yes, maybe we just do a proper video about it, and I'll explain you the like the details about the differences there. But to keep it short here, it basically, the larger the sensor, most of you will know that, the larger the sensor, the more light it can actually take from the surroundings. And being underwater, where we have not a lot of surrounding light in general, especially if we go a little deeper down, it's beneficial to have larger sensors. Having said that though, I have been filming on the Panasonic GH5 and GH5S for quite a long time, a couple of years now, and they are Micro Four Thirds sensors that are built into those cameras. And of course, there are situations where I would want to have more light, but you can always, with a rig that is slightly bigger, you can always put quite a bit of light onto that rig as well, and just give some artificial light into the scene. So, but yeah, it's probably better if we do a proper video on that, and we can go a little deeper into that topic, and I can explain you a few more things that might be of importance when you're choosing what kind of sensor you want to have in the camera that you're using for filming underwater. But very good question, John. Thank you very much for that. Okay, and then we've got John Helly just correcting or explaining the question that I understood wrong. He meant balancing the price of different components. The way people don't spend on a camera and put it on a... Yeah, okay, I see now. Okay, yeah, thank you, John, for clarifying that. Certainly, we can do that. Yeah, okay. But you'd be surprised what I've seen in my days as filming underwater, people putting ARRI Alexas and RED cameras in basically plastic bags and taking them underwater. Crazy stuff, but well, as long as it's not my camera, I'm not the one to judge. Yeah, whale sharks. Nice. What else? Oh, look at that. Is this an invitation to come to Libya? Sounds like fun. Okay. Maybe we'll have to talk a little more in private about that idea, but definitely interesting. And Brian will come as well. Excellent. Very nice, Andrea. I'm kind of a little bit jealous there that you're in Madagascar managing a eco lodge and a diving center. Well, maybe we can do some trips to you then at some time in the future as well. Is there any help video on converting from GH5 RAW in Final Cut? Please, you need to give me a little more detail on that question. What do you mean by GH5 raw? Do you mean just the material that comes out of the GH5? And why would you want to convert it in Final Cut? I'm not 100% understanding your question, so if you can just clarify what exactly you're trying to do, and I'll be more than happy to pick that up. Yeah, good question. I don't know. If I only knew if the GH6 is coming out, I have no idea. There's been so many rumors out there about a GH6 having to come, or kind of that it's time for the GH6 to come out. But people have been saying that for quite a while now, and I really don't know. Well, what I can see in a GH6, it's maybe that it's going to be able to film in 120, as we've seen on many other cameras, in 120 4K, as we've seen many other cameras that have just recently come out. I would hope that it actually starts using a better autofocusing system. Other than that, I'm actually really happy with the way my GH5 and GH5S works. There's not a lot of things that I don't like about it. Obviously, I mean, if they could include RAW capabilities into a GH6, maybe even 6K, that would be pretty cool. I heard someone saying, just a few weeks ago, I watched a video and someone was saying that they must give the GH6 6K because it's like in the name, right? It's GH6K. It's kind of a given that they must include 6K, but we'll see. We don't know, and it's so hard to say. I would really wish for a GH6 to come out soon. On one hand, but on the other hand, it's like not really, because if it comes out, I'll just have an urge to purchase a new camera again, and that's just going to hurt my bank account. So we'll see. I don't know. If I knew, I would obviously tell you all, but unfortunately, I'm not involved in the inner circle at Panasonic. Right. Okay. What else have we got? GH5 has an optional RAW upgrade.
Go down in the comments, at the end of the comments.
The end of the comments? All right, okay, I'm too far up on the comments. I'm too slow. Ah, the vlog. Okay, the vlog footage. So it's not being shown properly. But this is probably a little bit too complicated to just go through all that stuff. Now, how about this? I'll make a separate video where we'll go through the workflow with Vlog on the GH5 or the GH5S, and use some Vlog footage that I've recorded in Vlog, and we'll go through the process of importing that into Final Cut Pro, and also editing that footage and exporting it as a little clip. So we'll go and do one of these videos in the near future. That was a little confusing, but thanks for clarifying. I was afraid I have missed a major upgrade on the GH5, being able to record in RAW. Okay, cool. What else have we got here? Oh, Bunty is asking good questions. If Micro Four Thirds cameras will have higher pixels than 24 millions. I don't know. I mean, honestly speaking, when we talk about video cameras to actually film, I'm not very worried about the amount of pixels, because and that's one of the things that has been a bit of a controversy when, was it the R5, the Canon R5 came out with, which has something like 42, 45 million pixels, somewhere around that area. And actually, I think from what I understand, that it's not desirable from a filmmaker's point of view to have a camera that has like 45 or 50 million pixels. Simply being because the pixels are smaller on the same size sensor, and they're not as sensitive to light, the individual pixels, and it's much easier and more common to get noise in, particularly in your shadow areas, which we have a lot of shadow areas normally when we're underwater, when we film underwater. So I don't know. I don't think that's a very important topic for me personally, whether a camera has a certain pixel count on the sensor. Now, let's take the GH5S, for example, that has only like 10.5 million pixels and still is a very, very good camera for filming. Not for photography as much, but for filming, definitely. Any rebreather divers? Well, I can say that I have tried diving with rebreathers about 1.5, 2 years ago in Bonaire when I was there on my last project. I loved it, and it's still one of the things that's on my bucket list, getting certified as a rebreather diver. Brian might even be a rebreather diver. I don't know. I could see him actually having that certification, but I'm not entirely sure. A few months ago, you showed a new cine camera you bought. Have you outfitted it for underwater use? No, John, I mentioned it earlier in the stream when you were not in the stream yet. The C200, I have not put it underwater yet, simply because the housing is very expensive and you cannot get it to Switzerland at the moment, and it's only one manufacturer actually making that, which is Nauticam, and it's just very difficult to get it here. So no, I have not done that yet, but I'm looking at, I can't really go into too much detail here. This is still something that hasn't really been decided, but I'm gonna come up with it as soon as I'm ready. There's something new that I'm looking at that I will share with you in the near future. No, but you're not in the wrong crowd. We can talk photos here as well. And I don't know, when we talk about photos, I don't know if they will go any higher on the Macro Four Thirds cameras than the 24 pixels. I really don't know. Yeah, I bet the rebreathers are great for getting very close. Yeah, I don't think that there's going to be a TG7 critter hunter. I really don't think that that's going to happen. True, John says that file size gets out of hand, out of proportion on high megapixel sensors. Very true. There you go. Brian is a rebreather diver. I thought so. Don't be sorry, John. Don't be sorry. More than happy to repeat that again. Oh yeah, we've got Johanni here, right? I nearly forgot. He got his the R5, and he tried it. The data amount is just crazy. I bet. I've got a question for you, Johanni. Did you have any overheating issues with your R5 underwater? Okay, so we've got two rebreather divers now in their own discussion with Brian and again Epiphany. Right, okay. This has actually been a lot of fun, guys. This has been a lot of fun, but I think it's getting time for us to call it a day on today's live stream session. For me, it's been a pleasure having you guys here. It's been an absolute joy being able to interact with you in this way, and it's definitely not been the last time we do this. I want to do such a live stream once a month from now on. So always towards the end of the month, we'll do a channel update, Q&A, and general discussion with you guys as a live stream here on the channel, and I can't wait for the next one. The next one's also gonna take place here in my current home. And then from April onwards, it will be held in my new studio that, as I said earlier on, I'm very excited to share that journey with you. Thank you so much for being all here. I really appreciate you guys taking your time, especially since we have people from all around the world and all around different time zones. Please also let me know, maybe even later in the comment section, whether or not this time was good for you. Because we're still trying to figure out if this is a time that works for most people or not. So we just basically picked the time and went with it. Let me know if it works, if you have any other suggestions for times, and we'll see what the majority of you guys say, and we'll obviously adjust to that in the future. Let me have a last quick glance at the comments. Thanks for the comment. Don't worry, again, Epiphany will bring your skills to the next level, I'm sure. And as with every one of you guys, if you do have any specific questions, you're always more than welcome to connect directly with me, and I'll be more than happy to help you out wherever I can. 4K, 100 frames per second, got overheat issues. That's not that big issue yet in projects that I have. Okay. So there is overheating issues with the R5, even underwater. Okay, thank you, Johanni, for sharing that. I was afraid that was going to be the case. All right, cool. Excellent. Thank you guys again very much for your time. Thank you for being here. We'll be closing this stream in a minute, and I wish you all a fantastic morning, midday, evening, night, whatever time it is at your place that you're watching from. And I would love to see you back in the next live stream, and obviously back in the next videos that will be published here. Thanks so much for your time. Stay safe, go diving, and I will see you next time. Bye bye now.